You know, it's a sure sign when someone has an intro this long, you're dealing with someone who's really full of himself.
Bit of an ad hominem, isn't that? Listen, I do the long intros because I like doing the long intros. I have a shorter intro, but I just like doing intros. I also like making them long. I think it's fun to make them. It has nothing to do with my ego. I just like making them. If you don't like the intro, just skip it.
And who wants to bet this will be yet another example of Killian's Law?
You know what is really corny and what actually shows ego is naming something after yourself.
You mean imaginary lines drawn on a map by politicians usually as the result of a war?
That's the same for the lines of your property.
Really? War is the same criteria as property derived from self-ownership in a consistently applied system of universal ethics derived logically from first principles?
No, that's not what I was getting at. I was getting at that both are imaginary lines. Your property lines and country lines are imaginary. They are made-up lines. That is what I was getting at.
That's a very telling phrase. Legalize them. Yes, immigration restrictions make people illegal. That's what it does.
So does that mean when someone commits theft, that means they are an illegal person?
Wow, another false equivalence.
No, it's not really a false equivalence. Both are crimes, whether you agree with them or not.
No, of course not. They just committed a crime. Same thing with crossing the border illegally. Whether you agree with it or not, they're not an illegal person. They just crossed the border illegally.
Lie, 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 lie.
It's not a lie, it's the truth, you dip. If you want a better example, here's one. Trespassing laws. Do those make people illegal? No, they don't. They're just called trespassers because that is what they're called. That doesn't make them an illegal person. Same goes with crossing the border illegally. And I'm not lying when I say this. If you want to say I'm wrong, okay, fine. But there's a difference between being wrong and lying. Lying means that you know that this is not to be true and say that anyways.
More illegals who tend to vote Democrat.
I will admit I made a mistake here. I only meant their children vote Democrat. I might have been also thinking that when they were legalized, they also tend to vote Democrat.
And their children who tend to vote Democrat?
When you look at the Pew Research, you see that that's because you're looking at ones who live in heavily Democratic districts.
It is less, yes, but it's still predominantly they vote Democrat, where they still have a 10% lead in states like Texas.
I think that's reason enough to not allow illegal immigrants in, because since they will tend to vote for more government.
Oh, so you're in favor of thought crimes.
Mr. Strawman!
No, they do not. You don't have the right to go wherever you please.
I will give him this point too. I was making a terrible argument here.
So a wall would stop them how?
A wall is not supposed to stop them, it's supposed to deter them.
Oh yeah, just like those drug laws deter people from bringing in cocaine.
Now who's making the false equivalency? Actually looked at my sources, they would tell you that they do work. There have been countries who have implemented walls, good ones, and they have seen a decrease in border crossings.
And all of this is based on his bogus notion that we should be worried about these people for some reason. We shouldn't. Every immigrant creates 1.2 jobs for native workers, even low-skilled workers. They commit crimes less often than their native counterparts, and they use fewer government services for the taxes they pay than their native counterparts.
Actually, both of those things are false. For one, you're grouping up all immigrants together.
Lie, 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 lie! It's broken down by legal versus illegal immigrants and even skilled versus unskilled workers. Why don't you actually check the sources? Because you're afraid they'll prove you wrong?
Yeah, no, I'm not paying for sources. I don't have a lot of money and I don't want to spend what little money I have on reading those sources. So I took the interpretation from your video because you do not make a distinction between legal and illegal.
Legal and illegal immigrants commit crimes at different rates.
So what? It's still less often than natives do.
If you really want to play that game, let's break it down even further. A problem with also including all Americans together is that Americans commit crimes at different rates. If we look at the white population, around 380 are incarcerated per 100,000. And even if we took the lowest incarcerated age for illegal immigrants, it's at 481 per 100,000. If you include the black population, illegal immigrants commit less crime. However, when compared to the white population, no, they do not. They commit more crime. And just to cover all bases, in 2015, according to the FBI, whites committed around 3,908 homicides, while making up around 60% of the US population, and close to 4% of the American population is illegal. And their homicides that they committed, according to ABC News, around 4,000 for 2 years. So let's divide that by 2. That equals 2,000 per year. That's pretty high for 4% of the US population. As for benefits and taxes, according to Just Facts,
Yeah, because random websites are so much more reliable than scholarly articles published in peer-reviewed economics journals.
that's the appeal to authority fallacy. Just because it's a peer-reviewed study doesn't mean that it is correct. In fact, there have been times when they've been wrong or outright lied. Just because it's a peer-reviewed study doesn't mean what they say is true. For example, a peer-reviewed study could say 2 + 2 = fish. Does that make it right? No. In 2010, 3 million illegal immigrants and foreign investors filed federal tax returns.
Now who's ignoring other factors? Income tax is just a tiny amount of the federal taxes we pay. And as I pointed out, since most immigrants, especially illegal immigrants, don't file tax returns, they don't get the refunds they'd likely get if they could file. Besides, in addition to income tax, there are all sorts of other federal taxes.
According to the Center for Immigration and Studies, illegal immigrants receive billions of dollars more from the IRS than they pay in.
Which borders need to be secured, and how, and against whom?
Well, we take on the southern border and the coasts. We don't really need to worry about the northern border because we don't get that many illegal Canadians.
Immigrants who are here illegally because they have overstayed their visas are more likely to be Canadian than they are to be from any other country. We also get lots of illegals from other countries coming across via the Canadian border. Again, the fact that you just ignore this speaks volumes. In fact, when you look at all illegal immigrants, a majority of them are from Canada or Europe. In other words, white people. So why aren't you concerned about them? Why is it only when people with darker skin come here that you get your little snowflake panties in a wad?
I've already said how much the percentages of visa overstayers varies between studies. It could be as high as 58%, or it could be as low as 27%. But even if it is at 58%, there's still a huge percentage, which is of 42% that are not. When I was talking about Canadians, I was referring to the fact that they aren't crossing the northern border. That's why I said a northern border wall would be worthless pretty much. And you further proved my point when most of the Canadians who are here illegally are visa overstays.
The December 2014 paper, Does Immigration Increase Economic Growth? From the Manhattan Institute, answered that question with a resounding yes. Another NBR paper, The Wage Effects of Immigration and Emigration, found all European countries experienced a decrease in their average wages and a worsening of their wage inequality because of emigration, whereas, contrary to the popular belief, immigration had nearly equal but opposite effects, positive on average wages and reducing wage inequality of non-movers. These patterns hold true using a range of parameters for our simulations, accounting for the estimates of undocumented immigrants and correcting for the quality of the schooling and/or labor market downgrading of skills. In terms of wage outcomes, it follows that prevalent public fears in European countries are misplaced. Immigration has had a positive average wage effect on native workers.
According to the law of supply and demand, the fewer workers there are, the higher the wages would be. And the more workers there are, the lower the wages will be.
So now you're ignoring Say's law, which I specifically said not to do. You just get more and more contemptible as this video goes on.
I'm pointing out a problem with that article, the fact that it ignores supply and demand. Workers are the demand, The jobs are the supply. When you have more people who want a job, and especially when those people are willing to work for less, that lowers the pay. Not necessarily by a whole lot, but it does lower it. And we have seen it lower for low-skilled workers in the United States. Not by much, but it has lowered. So no, I'm not ignoring Say's law. I'm actually using Say's law. Now, I'm glad you did this video response on me, overall. Because you did point out some things that I got very wrong, which I'm glad for. Thank you for pointing those out. However, there's still a lot of things I got correct. The part I really did not like was you insulting my character and calling me a liar. There was also the fact that you implied that I'm a racist, and I despise you doing that. You are no better than the extreme left calling everyone racist. Anyways, that's it for this video. I'm done with this jack skeleton. If you liked my video, please give it a like, subscribe, share it, comment down below and tell me what you thought. Follow me on my social media, and you can support my content if you really like this video. So do all that, and I'll see y'all later.
Lie!
Okay, don't make any sudden moves. Hop inside my mouth if you want to live.
Hop in your mouth, huh? And how does that make me live?
Lie!
Because I can take you to your son.
Yeah, right.
No, I know your son. He's orange, he's got a gimpy fin on one side.
That's me!
Lie!